Good evening. We begin with a weather impact alert tonight as torrential rain fell across most of the valley. The storms would not stop. They brought wind and lightning, even hail in some areas.
And it wasn't just the valley. Take a look at this video from Globe where a second day of rain caused dangerous flash flooding. You can see that strong rushing water there nearly washing those parked cars away.
And when the storms cleared, this is what was left behind. The Indian Bend Wash in Scottsdale filled to the brim as flood retention basins collected all of that water and even spilled over onto nearby roads like Hayden. Thanks for joining us tonight for 12 News at 10. I'm Mark Curtis.
And I'm Kariba Devine. Today's downpour created severe flooding across the valley, trapping some unlucky drivers in their cars who then had to be rescued.
12 News journalist Chase Golightly is in Scottsdale tonight, where fire crews have been really busy. Chase, what's the latest out there?
Mark Rebe, we're still here at the wash where there was an attempted water rescue happening right behind me, but we just learned from Scottsdale Fire that there was no one inside the vehicle. You can see right over here as we zoom in, that vehicle almost completely flipped onto its side. The front portion submerged in water, and you can just see how fast that water is moving right here. But we were told by Scottsdale Fire that they were utilizing their drones. They were circling the area. We saw a helicopter out here with a spotlight on this car, but they said that there's no one inside or around the vehicle. But police are still out here just kind of maintaining the area, because this isn't the only situation like this that we've seen in the same area. There was actually another water rescue where someone had to be saved not far from where we're standing. Water rushed past this white sedan as firefighters rescued two people inside.
That's my sister in that car there.
Gabby Valero says her sister called her in a panic, telling Valero she and her boyfriend were driving to work in the middle of the storm that created severe flooding in Scottsdale.
She didn't realize how much water was coming down, and before she knew it, her car kind of shut off.
Both were trapped and stuck near Hayden Road and McCormick for close to 40 minutes before Scottsdale firefighters got each one out safely, escorting them to dry land.
I'm glad that she's okay and nobody got hurt.
Right before this rescue, firefighters saved another driver in the same wash about 20 minutes south. Their blue sedan almost completely submerged in the water, a place that has several warnings about flooding. Scottsdale police tell me in this case, they did have a police officer blocking the road, but the driver ignored them and drove past the police cruiser right into the deep water and got stuck.
It's not a good idea to go through that.
Those living here have seen rescues in Gila Bend Wash many times before, knowing whenever there's a lot of rain, it will flood here. But they say Friday's storm and the flooding that came along with it was much worse.
Today it's very unusual. It's pretty high compared to what I've seen it in the past.
I anticipate it happening, but I haven't seen it to this extent here before. Yeah, this is the first time I've seen it like this.
Now, for those unfamiliar with the wash here in Scottsdale, it really stretches on for miles north and south from where we're standing here. And like we mentioned, whenever there's heavy raining, you can't expect this to flood. We also saw several other vehicles who are parked here, because this is also a park with some parking lots. Those vehicles were also submerged in water. Thankfully, no one inside those. So it really is a reminder, again, when we have heavy storms like what we saw today, the wash here in Scottsdale is definitely an area you want to avoid. We're live in Scottsdale tonight. Chase Golightly, 12 News.
Yeah, Chase, thank you. And it's pretty remarkable that this many hours after the rain stopped,
How fast that water is still flowing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's another reminder for folks there, too, that it can
Yeah.
happen even hours after that heavy rain has stopped. Well, all across the valley today, fire crews responded to reports of people being trapped after driving through roads that were flooded.
Even just a few inches of water is enough to cause a car to stall. 12 News journalist William Pitts is live in Phoenix. And Will, over and over again today, you saw drivers playing that game of chicken, trying to see if they could make it through a flooded intersection.
Yeah, and most of them failed. And it's 6 inches of water can float a car. There was definitely way more than 6 inches of water in this intersection. It was almost like these people in the cars would come up to the intersection, see people stalled off to the side and say, no, that's not going to be me, then drive through the water and join them later on.
This was never going to be great. Within minutes, streets were flooded, standing water on Buckeye near the airport. Streets backed up in all directions, leading some people to look for side streets to get through. And those side streets, well, they were much worse. At 17th and University, it went from bad to worse. Water at least 1.5 feet deep, cars not making it through. Some died halfway through the water, leaving these guys to help get them out.
Derek's been pulling out cars for what, half hour, 45 minutes?
Roughly, yeah.
What are people thinking?
They're not.
No matter how many cars were pulled off to the side of the road,
Don't do it!
more drivers kept trying it.
I wouldn't drive my car through that. I would not.
You said you drive a Camaro, so there's no...
Yes, sir. I have a 2011 Camaro, and I would not drive my car through that.
Including Omar Borboa. We saw family members tow him onto the gravel, then bail the water out of the car with a cup.
But a trailer was coming, and that was the one that threw all the water on me. And that's when the car started to fail. And well, that's when it died, right in the middle of the creek.
How deep was the water? This deep.
It was submerged. That's where the water got through. Well, up to here. It's inside the, well, up to there.
Omar and his family brought tools and tried to get the car going again.
Well, wait and see if it starts, hopefully. Or if not, if it doesn't, take it home.
It was so bad, Derek and his coworkers said a fire truck had broken down in the water. A few minutes later, we saw a fire truck on a flatbed. A massive amount of rain in no time at all.
Yeah, by the time we left there, everybody was safe. All the cars had been towed away, and the intersection was completely clear. But Mark, you said it earlier today. If any of those cars actually survived and can be repaired, which most of them will probably be totaled, they're definitely going to smell like today for about a year or more.
Yeah, just
What's that?
get a new car.
Now, is that new car or is that
that-
flooded car that I smell?
I think that's Monsoon 2020.
Yeah, nobody asked for that at the car wash.
Monsoon 2025 scent.
Yeah. Will, thanks. Great job today. Phoenix firefighters had to get creative on one rescue mission this afternoon. This is from 32nd Street in Van Buren. The pickup's front wheel got stuck in a manhole because of all that water. It pushed it up. And firefighters had to sit on the back of the truck so the driver could back out.
So then shortly after, another car got stuck in that same intersection. We spoke with a driver who said that his car just stopped working because of the floods. He was worried that water would come rushing in, and then that's when Phoenix police arrived.
They asked how they could help me, and they said, it's okay, do we push you? Is it okay, it might damage your car? I said, yeah, it's okay, because it gets me out of here and out of the road. And they just really helped me out, and it was really nice.
Well, those nice officers were able to push him to safety, and the driver was able to call a tow truck.
All right, listen to this. And this is when you know it's bad. It wasn't just the human drivers who had trouble on the roads. Waymo says it had to pause service due to all of the flooded streets. Our crews, along with people on social media, saw multiple Waymo self-driving cars stopped as they tried to figure out how to navigate flooded roads. The company says it even had to remove some of its cars that were stranded. All right, this guy has been busy all day, along with Crystal Long, and Tram was in earlier. Chris Dunn has just been killing it all day long.
Boy, it was one busy day, and not one for the record books, because the 1.64 that we officially received at Sky Harbor was amazingly not a record for the day, but it was the rainiest day in Phoenix since October 13th of 2018. So we're talking 7 years since we've had this kind of rain in one day in Phoenix. Here are some of the rain totals. Buckeye, 6,700. It's about an inch of rain in Surprise. Same thing for Glendale and Peoria. 1.64 at Sky Harbor. Over 2 inches of rain in Levine. Scottsdale, Tempe. There seemed to be pretty much a solid corridor of the heavy rain right through the central Phoenix area. In the East Valley, 1.34 in Mesa, over 2 inches of rain in Fountain Hills and Apache Junction with 39 hundredths. Another byproduct of all the rain and the stormy weather, cooler temperatures, 72 degrees. Our relative humidity is 73%. Coming up a little bit later, I have a pretty extreme example of a contrast between yesterday and today. It's pretty amazing. 67 in Tempe right now, 74 in Scottsdale. As far as the rain is concerned, we're done with the storms for tonight, but not for the weekend, because you see this big swirl in the clouds. This is the instigator. This is the thing that's been driving the storms. And we've had a number of storm reports across the valley, including some damage to a tree on the ASU campus and a wind gust of 56 miles per hour at Sky Harbor Airport. The weekend forecast and your 7-day coming up.
All right, Chris, we'll see you then. Developing tonight, a man is dead and another is in the hospital after a shooting at a Tempe apartment complex. 12 News was able to get a hold of the moments that those shots rang out. Yeah, you can hear it in that video there. So when officers arrived, they found an injured man. He was rushed to the hospital where he later died. Officers found another man with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He remains in the hospital in critical condition. Details about what led up to the shooting have not yet been released. A tight-knit community in the White Mountains is remembering 2 firefighters killed in a head-on crash earlier this month. 12 News journalist Kyle Simchuk is in Show Low ahead of the service for firefighter Damon Thompson tomorrow.
But first, he shows us how the town remembered firefighter Brenna Kulikowski today.
The fire chief spoke directly to Kulikowski's 10-year-old daughter. She was sitting in the front row right next to her father and other family members, and the fire chief told her she now has 100 new moms and dads in the fire department. It was cold and rainy in Show Low this morning, but people didn't care.
We pray for rain every day, so I'm grateful for the rain and grateful for the first responders.
My brother-in-law is a retired firefighter, and my nephew's a firefighter, so I want to pay respect.
Fire departments from all over Arizona joined the procession, which ended at Show Low High School's auditorium. At the family's request, cameras stayed outside, but inside the memorial, hundreds of first responders, family, and friends gathered to give their hero a fitting farewell. Kulikowski's pastor and former fire chief, Brian Savage, said they aren't gathered because she is gone, but because she lived. He recounted recruiting her to the fire service. Current Fire Chief Randy Chevalier described the 31-year-old as someone who brought both courage and compassion, juggling 3 jobs as a wife, a mom, and a firefighter. Governor Katie Hobbs also attended, calling the loss tragic, saying Brenna's bravery and service inspired people across Arizona.
Everything was just beautiful. I've never been to a funeral like that before.
It was emotional. It was touching. It was very fitting to honor a hero. We're all together, combined as a fire family. We all have each other's backs no matter what.
And tomorrow morning, another memorial. Damon Thompson, the other firefighter killed in this horrible crash, will have the same honors given to him. His memorial scheduled to begin at 10 a.m. We're in Show Low tonight. Kyle Simchuk, 12 News.
Still ahead, did